So what is micro detailing and why should you incorporate it into your tooling? Well, that's coming up. Hello everyone, my name is Daniel Reese. This is Weaver Leather Supply. Today, we're going to be talking about micro detailing and why it would be something you might want to incorporate into your tooling. Now, first, what is micro detailing? Well, it's very small, tiny little details that often will blend together to give you an overall texture. To illustrate micro detailing, we're going to be using this swivel knife challenge from a few videos back to show you how to do it and kind of the effects that it can create. Now, one of my favorite tools to do any kind of micro detailing with is going to be a fine-tipped awl. I've got a variety of them. This one's really sharp. I've got another one that's not quite as sharp. And really, you don't want one that has a really sharp point to it. You want it to be about as sharp as your average leather sewing needle. If it's too sharp, it'll scratch and tear the surface of the leather instead of just leaving those score marks and those scratches, superficial scratches in the leather. That's what we're looking for, not actually scratching and tearing the leather. So we're going to be adding hair to the face of the lion, and that kind of begs the question, why wouldn't we just use a hair detail blade, right? A hair blade. Well, a hair blade, the lines that it's going to give you, the hair detail, for this kind of work is just going to be too coarse. And the other thing is we're wanting some really short, fine work in here, and you just can't get that with a hair blade, which is why we're going to be using the point of an awl. So how do we actually do it? Well, we're going to go in, and the first thing we're going to do is case the leather, just like you would case any other tooling project. Then from there, we're going to use the point of the awl to start laying in the hair detail. Very short strokes. We want to put just enough of a mark on there that the leather will retain the mark, but not actually tear the leather. So as we do this, there's going to be a few things that we want to keep in mind. And the first one that I would mention to you, you heard me talk about it before, and that is we want to rough in the overall details. Some of the hair goes sideways, some of it curls around, some of it goes back. We want to go in with our awl and start laying that in so that when we actually start putting in the full details, we're not guessing about what direction it should go. Now, you don't have to do the overall project, the overall lion's head all at once. I'm going to start with one little section of his muzzle, and I'm going to start roughing that in and start developing that, and then I'll move to a different part of it. One of the other things that we want to pay attention to is the length of stroke that we do with our awl. If you look at the lion's face, it's really short, tiny little hairs, and we want to replicate that with the awl. And that means that we're putting in tiny little hairs, not long flowing hair. One of the other big things that we want to pay attention to is a reference picture. Now you'll notice that as I'm going in and I'm working in the part of the cheek right here, I actually get my phone out, I do a search for a lion so that I can see what direction all the different hairs go in that particular part of his face. You'll notice that this part of his cheek flows differently than this part of his cheek. So reference pictures are going to be a really important thing to incorporate if you're doing micro detailing where the flow of the texture is important. We also want to make sure that we're paying attention to the consistency of the texture. In other words, unless it's intentional, we don't want thin spots and thick spots and bare spots. Unless we're intentionally varying the consistency, we want it to be all one consistent texture all the way across the area that we're working. And last, one of the most overlooked areas when you're adding in micro detailing like this is the edge that we cut and beveled. If this is the edge of his head, you want to make sure that that awl is catching on the side of it so that we add the texture to the edge of the lion's head or whatever it is that you're working on. So that's one tiny little aspect of micro detailing, pun intended. I hope you found it helpful. That's going to do it for this video. I will see you in the next one. In the meantime, go make something amazing.